This video follows the progress of Keola Homes as they work to put good waste management strategies in place on their building site. In the first video, we looked at making a plan for managing waste on site and the key things that needed to be included in that plan. They were: work out the types and quantities of waste, sort out how it will be dealt with and where it will go, make sure the plan is followed. In this video, we will watch the Keola team as they work out how to put their waste management plan in place. One of the key aspects of Keola's plan was to establish the destination for each form of waste.
Poly. How much do you think?
Not much.
Not much. So we could probably just use those frames and sacks like we did last time.
Yeah.
Because the site was small, they also needed smaller bins and more frequent pickups.
How much room have you actually got on site for this project?
We don't have much at all, so some along the side here, so it would be useful to have the bins arriving in some sort of scheduled fashion. So
some smaller bins that you can move around would be handy on this project due to the size of the room you've got there.
After a number of discussions between Sanjeesh and Wade, the plan was decided. Plasterboard would go to EnviroFit for recycling. Glass and plastic bottles to Visi Recycling Facility. Timber, treated and untreated, would go to a transfer station to be reused or for energy recovery. Waste Management New Zealand Limited will recycle cardboard and plastic wrap at their recycling facility. Hard fill would be reused on site if possible or sent to clean fill. All other waste would go to landfill.
Well, when I initially found out about this waste management program, I thought it was something we'd like to be involved with. Initial thoughts were whether or not it was going to cost us more or whether we needed to actually re-quote the job.
Well, initially I thought it was probably a good idea. I didn't know how it was going to work until we were told and shown. But at the end of the day, it's just got to be better for everybody. Subbies, I think that are going to need perhaps an induction and a bit of a run through of where they can put their cardboard and their plastic and their offcuts or whatever. Generally, they just leave it where they stand, or if you can actually convince one to clean up after himself, he'll just throw it in the nearest skip, regardless of what it is.
For some parts of it, it slows you up a bit when you're having to separate things to go in different bins or cutting things down to fit them in a bin.
space is also of a premium, so the location of bins is one of the key factors.
Detailed signage of what can and can't go in, for example, a plastic bin, because I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know or not, but a lot of plastic can't be recycled. So if one piece of non-recyclable plastic goes in a skip, apparently it contaminates the whole load. Okay, well, as you know, this is a waste minimisation site. Pretty much everything that can be recycled will be, and general rubbish obviously just goes in the general bin.
I think one of the key things is the education of the subcontractors. They really need to be brought back into the basics as to why it's being done first off before the how it's to be done. And a lot of the times it's easier to just point them to a bin and say, hey, your rubbish goes in that bin, and then they'll just follow it without understanding the system as to why it's being done. So I think that's quite important to educate them on. And once they have a bit of that knowledge, you'll get a much better buy-in.
We had some initial issues regarding space, but allocating smaller bins for the project has worked really well. The key things for running a waste management plan such as this is good communication with the waste provider and your subcontractors, having a good time frame set out for what your waste materials will be, and having bins allocated at those times.
On this side, the latest figures show that approximately 60% of the waste from the site has been recycled, which is really good data for us to have. There was no way we would have imagined those sort of figures to be achieved with basically the minimal amount of effort that's gone in there. So that makes us feel really, really positive and giving it another go on other sites. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't try and improve just a few of the processes and try and get those percentages even higher. And that would be a really big win for us. We've learned a little bit on this site. We want to improve our learning, and ultimately the goal would be to try and get 100%.
Unless the education starts with the contractors boss or employer, then it just makes it difficult from our point of view because they are not supposed to take instructions from us but from their boss. At the start of every project, regardless of how big it is, there needs to be a site induction with not necessarily the contractor but his boss.
The initial plan needs to be explained in a letter, just a summarised version of the overall high-level stuff as to why, and then the next stage as to how it was going to be implemented, and then the second stage would be to actually again reiterate that to the guys physically on site.
Communicating the plan is very important. It sets out a good guideline for what materials we can recycle for the project, what bins we can allocate for those materials as well.
On the next side, what we would do differently is the initial education and understanding the plan. We somehow thought that was going to all act out by itself, but it won't. So that education part and getting a good understanding, we'll be so much better informed for the next time to make it all happen a lot smoother.
What we have learned on this site is that having a plan is just the start. Communicating it is key to successful implementation. You need to have the whole team on board from the start. Contractors need to know what will be expected of them. Contracts need to state the requirements. Workers need to be given an induction as soon as they arrive on site. And bins need to be clearly and explicitly labelled.
The Keola project's done really well. Out of the available 6 points over the 2 credits in Homestart, it would have achieved 5 out of those points. 3 for having a waste management plan in place for the site, and then 2 for the actual waste collection that they put in place. So to get those points, the first 3 have come from simply having a plan in place, and they did that using a Rebri site waste management plan. The second part is tracked through the project and is based on the data they collect from their waste management contractor and looks at the proportion of waste they sent to be recycled or at a total weight of that waste in relation to the floor area. So they achieved just under 15 kilograms of waste per finished floor area, per square metre of finished floor area. That was just over 2 tonnes for that project that actually ended up in landfill, which was significantly better than the average 5 tonnes that a typical project might take.
This project has changed the way that I think about residential building waste. It does show that we do have quite a few recyclable materials coming off the project, and they're going to the allocated processes for recycling.
I think the system can and will work if everyone's on board and the right educational programs are out there to show people how easy it really is.
Since we've been doing this, there was a lot that we didn't know, and we've learned like with cardboard and stuff. Our company now keeps all our cardboard and they go and sell it off. So there's places that will buy the old cardboard from you. So just from here they've actually learned about it. So it's been a big learning thing for the company.
I think for future projects, these sort of things would have to be implemented, and possibly even tariffs might even be put on job sites. So if they're not actually implementing a plan like this, it becomes more costly for them, because if there's 5,000 projects happening in Auckland and nobody's recycling, then we're going to have a waste management problem pretty shortly. So
my advice to other contractors would be, do it. It's not that difficult as you might imagine, and it would be a good learning experience, a good satisfaction out of it, and you'd be surprised how many of your subcontractors are actually on board with that when you explain it to them why and how it's actually to be done. And there's possibly next to nothing extra effort on their part, so you definitely get a bit of buy-in.
In this video, we've looked at the Keola Homes experience, but the problem of excessive construction waste is common to almost every residential construction project. You might choose different solutions depending on your site, budget or materials, but the principles are the same. Make a plan and put it into action. By following these principles, you can reduce the amount of waste on your site, potentially saving yourself money and doing your bit for the environment. For further information, the Resource Efficiency in the Building and Related Industries website has a list of all the materials that can be recycled and supplementary material that will help with the process. Visit the brand's website. Or for any other information, visit the New Zealand Green Building Council's website nzgbc.org.nz.